collaboration is essential. For us, collaboration is workflow. When they live on a system, what next? Sometimes people say they can't find the assets, so that they literally just live there. But how do we actually create a system or use a DAM system that allows us to really thrive in a sense of collaboration?
Collaboration is really where the rubber meets the road. Everything's theoretical to now, and now we're getting into like, let's do something with these assets.
Right.
We've got decision makers, like you said, Kathy. She's got to decide, use this image, we're going with that one, change this color. I mean, look at this image. We've got this nice image of this model with a dog. Kathy might look at this on her phone, and as you can see here, she can say, change this. She puts in a comment and says, we need to change the stripes on the outfit to red instead of black.
Great.
We should be able to go in, make that change in Photoshop, have that automatically synchronize, and with a connector, that should connect dynamically up in InDesign so that is made dynamically without anybody touching that asset. So that kind of collaboration is really important, that you've got everybody involved in the process. They're all informed and notified automatically with auto notifications. You can see here in the inbox, we got a notification to make that change. You've got Kathy here annotating with feedback, and she's doing that on her mobile phone. An interesting thing too in that collaboration really hinges around the ability to collect in collections. And so we'll get into that in a little bit, but that really enables us to provide something that Kathy can see that isn't sorting through 100 images. We might just have a collection that is waiting for a certain status, like waiting for approval, and she is signed up to that collection that is waiting for that. So collections don't always have to be things you manually put things in. Look in an Ultimate DAM for something where that collection is dynamically created by a search, like you can see here. So we've got a search where we say anything with the status of waiting for review automatically goes into that. Kathy can see that on her mobile phone. She can make a comment while she's on the road, and nobody is held up in that whole workflow process. So again, this looks a lot less like a fixed set of statuses and more like an environment that people can naturally work in. And I think that's important for everybody, no matter what DAM you go with, to have an environment that reflects the kind of workflow you have. We call it your workflow, your way, because we've created enough structure in it to allow for that flexibility, to make that naturally occur how you imagine it to occur. That's a lot of work, behind the scenes. And so look for a DAM that can do that for you.
We like to talk about the DAM solution that fits the 21st century lifestyle. So for instance, you might need to run out for coffee, as many of us do who are working very hard, and being able to get notifications on the go, as we just talked about Kathy receiving that, really allows the project to move at the momentum that we are being entrusted to move it, but without having to sacrifice this work-life integration or balance that we are all seeking in this day and age.
Absolutely. And that really leads us to collaboration, is actually finding what you're searching for, and that whole seek and you shall find. Sometimes that's easier said than done.
Absolutely.
And I think, in this case, look for a basic DAM to have saved searches, the ability to filter by tags and attributes. Now, another level up would be suggested searches, auto completion, or even looking at choosing what specific fields you want to show up in a quick search versus an extended search. You can see here there's all sorts of configuration. There's that level of detail where, do I want these fields to show up in this particular kind of search? When I save the search, can I easily access the searches I'm used to always using? These are important things in search. And I think we've talked about in-document search. So can I just find within a document text that I'm looking for? All of those things are important. GPS functionality, the video by scene we talked about. Absolutely. We're kind of like on the end of collaboration where we really need to put those features in action and actually find the stuff we need to look for. So obviously, this is where the rubber meets the road.
I love that a lot of the things we've spoken about in the organization phase is also re-bubbling in this collaboration phase. And I think it speaks to what many of us know, is that if you take the time in the beginning to build out the right solution, it'll work for you in the coming phases of that solution. The beautiful part is that most of the times we refrain from actually engaging in the necessary organization because of time and resources. However, in these solutions, when you have the access to multiple DAM solutions, you can really ask, which ones are automated? Which ones really relieve you of the need to actually go in and take the time to build out the success in the upcoming phases? And which ones will do it for you along the way? So your process, your input isn't changing, but yet your organization and ability to collaborate is actually being heightened and elevated to that next level, which will increase your productivity as an individual, the team, and hopefully bring your company to that level that you're seeking to go to.
That's great. Yeah. And I think another area where we're starting to move out into the community, the external partners, things like that, are where collections can come into play. They can be used internally like we just did, but this is where you might provide secured access to them. And you might just want to give someone a 6-digit PIN code. You don't need fancy passwords. You don't need anything. You just want it secure enough. They see it. You spin that up. It can have a certain look and feel like you can see here. And this is where Antonio is going to get involved in our share phase.
That's right.
Of course, you got to set that up in the collaborate phase. Say, these are the images that Antonio needs to put onto the Fashion Monthly magazine site. So let's quickly put together a collection. So I'll grab these images here. I'll drag them over here to this collection for Fashion Monthly. And now he can be instantly notified because he's signed up for that, and he can see those collections and download the images, make comments on them, whatever you provide access for him to do. It's a really nice way to provide access. You want to be able to create as many of these as you need. You can't, there are some systems I've seen where they really only allow you to have one spot that images get shared. It's not really going to be helpful for you. This is more that concept that you'll find where a collection will need to be created for multiple purposes, for multiple people. And so you want that flexibility as you create a collection. We also touched on brand new features that are available in Eyebase, of which a collection can be that query. So rather than physically putting them in, just create a saved query and apply that query like I'm doing here to this collection. Now watch this. I'll put this image. I'll make it ready for review. And you'll see here that it just instantly added to that query. Kathy is signed up to that. So she's ready to comment and approve or reject or select which one she likes from this. She might set the favorite setting or give this 3 stars, whatever the way you want to communicate as a team. That's what collections are for, and they're great for external, for internal, but you want that flexibility as you start to collaborate around the project.
And Greg, whenever I hear the word collaborate, from the positions that I sit, I typically think edit. So it's not going to be a collaborate. Yeah. It's not always seamless. It's not I love your work every time.
Yeah.
And so
no edits required.
One day I wish. Can we automate my success? That would be great. Knowing that that's going to be a very essential piece to this back and forth collaboration. For collaboration to thrive, editing and feedback will be essential. There is this entire section coming up about editing the asset. Some of it is local, and it has a variety of different touch points in this process. Can you go through what those basic features are and then really highlight, again, those dynamic, more ultimate solutions that we're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of editing happens locally in Photoshop, when you're talking digital assets. Video is obviously more complex. We won't get into that. But the first thing a DAM should be able to do is allow you to download that asset and edit it locally and upload it again and make a version. That's a no-brainer. I should be able to convert file formats and make the right asset types that I need, the high res, the low resolution. And as we've talked about before, this is where it's really nice just to pop open the file like I'm doing here using iSync. I make the edits locally and just simply save the file. That's it. I'm not downloading. I'm not involving those steps. I'm just editing it locally. And so we can, see how I'm doing that. The other thing is maybe I just need to change the cropping of an image, and I just need to make a new version that has a different crop. So I just might want to use an online editor that's integrated with the system like we have here. So you see here that this image, we just didn't like the cropping of the image, and we wanted to change it to have this sort of dynamic color palette behind it where I've got this overlay gradient on the image. And so I'm going to make that change here, add that gradient. I'm going to go ahead and save a copy of that because I want to keep the original one. But this is the one I want to use in the image, and I'll just notify people in the process. So in this case, of course, I'm acting as Amelie, the photographer in this case, and she was asked to make this change. And so we just made the change.
So good. So good. Now, more often than not, we're talking about the teams who like to work locally, the teams who like to work in the cloud, the teams who can work in a cross-pollinating function. Can we talk a little bit about how some of these solutions can connect assets to the Adobe Creative Cloud and how different DAMs might be able to provide a basic solution around that and others might provide a more ultimate series?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that you really want to see is some form of connection to Adobe InDesign. Adobe InDesign naturally requires the file to be local. If you make a change to that file locally, then the file will be updated. But to do that, you have to download those files. With a connector, I can directly connect to that asset in the cloud. And as you see here, I'm going to drag this file over by using the little InDesign icon on this image. I'm going to drag it into InDesign, which I have here. And you'll see that connection's made here in this column. So now, if a change is made to that asset in the digital asset management system online, this connector is dynamically detecting that and will tell me, oh, I've got to update that change made. Wow. So in the case of this dog image, we've dragged it over. In this scenario, we're going to go and make an edit to it. So you can see now, let's say I'm the photographer and I've been told, make the stripes red. I go make the stripes red, as you can see here. I'm time-lapsing this, obviously, so you don't have to sit around and watch me do the edits.
You're not this fast, Greg?
No, I'm not. No. And now, obviously, I can save that to the digital asset management system. That dynamically is connected here, and you can see this little icon says, let's update that. I press update here, and I can see that refreshed, and that image has been updated. So I don't have to drag that down to my local. I don't have to do all of that. It's done.
And it eliminates the need for duplicate files.
Absolutely. Yeah. Time and space is saved for sure.